but just to give you a sense, so what we're going to do is we'll kind of have everyone introduce themselves, and then this is really a chance for you to ask as many questions as you want of our lovely students. So we'll probably start in like 2 minutes, but so start thinking of your questions now, because we'll try to get as many people in as possible. I will be right back.
Don't say what you're saying.
No. Hey guys,
they know me.
Wait, who's this? Okay, everybody, so let's get started. Okay, David, make sure you...
Oh, I will.
Okay, I have no doubt. No doubt. Okay, so this I always love. Obviously, we have 5 incredible students, and I never want them to leave, but they're all Q3, Q4 at this point. So why don't we just kind of go down the line. Collins, we can start with you. Your name, where you're from, kind of what your focus is.
I am Callan Lyons. I'm from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I originally went to the University of Pittsburgh. I hope someone in this room has some connection in that regard.
Get a woot woot? Anybody?
No.
Anybody? Okay.
I'm a 4th quarter student. I came here to do feature writing. I'm an odd hybrid where I'm in the documentary capstone, but I'm doing an audio capstone, so I'm sort of the magazine track, sort of a self-created audio track.
Hey guys, I'm Hannah Gilbert. I'm a Q3 student from Atlanta, Georgia. I went to Georgia Tech for my undergrad and actually studied business, so from business to journalism. And you got jackets? I got one. So yeah, I'm in my 3rd quarter. I'm focused in broadcast. I recently decided that I was really torn between documentary and broadcast, but as of late, I've decided to go that route. So I'll be going to DC as well in 4th quarter.
Hey guys, I'm Vishaka. I'm a Q3 student. I'm from New Delhi, India, and I did my undergrad there. I was a history major, and then I spent a year in Singapore, and now I'm here. I came here to be a news reporter, but I'm making documentaries now, and that's me.
Hi guys, I'm Erin Braun. I met a lot of you yesterday. I'm a 3rd quarter national security specialization student, and I kind of go in between magazine and news reporting. I'm from Chicago, Illinois, and I did my undergrad at University of Illinois, and I studied history.
I'm Tolly Taylor. I'm from Virginia. I went to a small liberal arts college called Franklin and Marshall in Pennsylvania. And what else? I came in as print and sports track. I've stuck with sports, but kind of split between print and broadcast now. I'm doing a little bit of both, which has worked out really well. And what else? I'm Q3, and that's everything.
Everything you need to know about Tully. Also, it's his birthday. Yay! So why don't you guys talk about why you decided to come to Medill when you were in this place last year?
Yeah, going all the way down.
We can, or if you want to popcorn it, whatever you like.
This jumps to mind because it was I was here for this last year. It was also on my birthday, which is pretty cool. They put us up in a hotel, and I was just stretched out on my queen bed like, yeah. But yeah, I had applied to 8 schools, and I was having a tough time deciding. I'm sure some of you are in the same boat. But yeah, this weekend helped me decide to come here. I think what I came in struggling with was what exactly I was looking for. Like, I went to the Columbia Visit Back Day, and that seemed pretty cool. And then I came here, and I think the main thing I took away was that Columbia would be great for a student who had no idea what they wanted and wanted someone to sort of take the reins and guide them. And what I loved about here was that I sort of knew what I wanted to do, and I could sort of form the structure and of the curriculum around what I wanted. So that helped me decide to come here. And I'm realizing I can't even remember the question you asked. But that.
Why you did Medill?
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. So that's why, and I've absolutely found that to be true. But if any of you have any questions about if you're trying to decide, I'd love to share my thoughts and give my 2 cents.
Yeah, I remember Advent Days fondly. And I remember, I was caught between a few schools, too, and it was really confusing. And I loved how Medill told us that we could kind of create our own master's program. They didn't tell you that you have to be print or video or audio. We all, I think, have ventured into, multiple platforms. And what really sold me was the global programs here. I want to do foreign reporting. I think a lot of you do. So I can talk about that later too. But also, I just felt like a huge connection to the people. They really care about us. And I'm sure they've told you, Medill Mafia, right? I'm sure you've heard that. So that's real. And, I really felt that when I came here. And I still feel that as a student. So, yeah, it was a pretty easy decision for me after I came to Advent Days, actually.
Well, I obviously didn't come to Advent Days because it's a little far. But I was also deciding between 2 schools, but what really drew me to Medill was just how flexible it seemed to be, which has come true clearly. I went from someone who has never shot videos before, and I'm just making videos now. And yeah, that's what really drew me to Medill. And like Erin said, I was really interested in all the global programs, and it's all come true. I really wanted to go to South Africa at some point during my year here, and we went there for 10 days, and we did a lot of great work. So Medill kind of it let me explore whatever I wanted to do, and I'm continuing to do that, and that's what really drew me to the program.
So, like her, I didn't actually come to Advent Day either. I was a late bloomer, and after I graduated from undergrad, I actually went into entertainment and events. So I started working in the NFL. I worked for a radio company as well and did stuff like that. I was producing video content for Georgia Tech Athletics on the side, and I realized I actually want to do this full time. So instead of producing a show, I want to tell the story of why it's important. Why people's stories matter. And so I realized what better school to do that than this school. So this was my top choice, and at the time, my only choice, because I was if I don't get in there, then I'll consider other options. But for me, I knew Medill was where I wanted to go. And, since I've been here, I've become a stronger writer. I can't tell you guys, I sat next to Aisha in Methods, and, I was such an insecure writer at the time. I'm not even kidding you. Jasmine can attest to this. I'd be in, the student center or, just the library. She's probably rolling her eyes because I'd be there all night trying to write a 500-word article. It was ridiculous. And now I can turn it around in, 2 hours. So it really challenges you. And I knew, I'd get, a hardcore, rigorous experience coming here. And, that's what I got, and that's what made me better.
Medill was actually the only place I applied. I really liked that it was a year. The only place that really rivaled the curriculum I felt was Berkeley, and I liked that it was only 1 year here versus 2 in financial aid. It was easier. I also, just to echo what everyone was saying about creating your own curriculum, I really feel that's the case here at Medill. I came in positive that I wanted to do feature writing, and now I'm almost leaving seemingly more confused because I've been doing so much radio, and I've really enjoyed doing audio, and completely learned how to do it this year. Yeah, those are the main things, I think. Yeah.
So my last question, then we'll go to you guys. But what has been your favorite Medill moment? And so, fun fact, everybody here except for Tali, who we still love, but we all went to South Africa together on our Medill sports trip. So if it was something from there or something else that you did, when you think about your Medill experience, what's like the experience that you have enjoyed or that really sticks out to you?
For me, I think that's pretty easy. I went to the NFL Combine and got to cover that, got credentialed for that. I went with two other guys, and Medill had never sent, at least to my knowledge, had never sent any students there before. So they had no sort of established connections or anything like that, but they gave me some money to go. They gave all of us some money to go. We got to go. It was sort of 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. every day, and then we turn around some articles, turn around some videos, and then we go out to the hotel bar and network with NFL people. And that's kind of the dream for me. That was pretty great. It was awesome 3 days, and I got a lot of great clips and reel from that, and that was just sort of surreal being there and meeting all these people who I had read my entire life or watched my entire life. So, love that.
Yeah, that's a super hard question because I have so many like really good memories from reporting. South Africa definitely stands out just because it was pretty much the epitome of like what I want to do. So Kellen and I both reported on women's and LGBTI issues, which is like near and dear to my heart. So getting to report on that and meeting so many people, we interviewed Justice Edwin Cameron, who's a constitutional court judge. He's like world-renowned, amazing man, so nice, like brilliant, and it was cool because the four of us in our group got to sit down and interview him, and he gets interviewed by, like New York Times and like all these crazy publications, and he's sitting there talking to us. So that definitely stands out. But also, like, I've done a lot of breaking news stuff with Chicago politics and activism, and it's so much fun. Like, I was at the Donald Trump rally that didn't happen a few weeks ago, and just like, and Hannah and Misha were there too, but being like in the middle of that and like being on the scene and in the middle of that like chaos, but doing your job was just like really fun for me. And it's definitely something I'm gonna remember probably going forward forever.
Yeah, it's definitely a really hard question. I can't think of one moment that really sticks out, but I think it's basically all the stories I've done here, the kind of people I've met. I'd never imagined I'd be able to do the kind of stories I have done. I've interviewed a lot of immigrants and refugees, basically about their struggle and how they made something out of their lives over here, and that just. It's most of the interviews I do. I end up crying with the people because you just get so involved. You're telling these stories that you always wanted to, and then you see it actually happening. It's almost unbelievable. Like I've pinched myself a couple of times because I never believed I could actually do stuff like this. And yeah, I think that doing that over the past 6 months, and I know I'll be doing it for the next 4 to 6 more months, and it's just that's what makes me really happy.
I guess to add to that, it's hard to say one memory, but I think it's overall the people that you meet, both within this program and out of this program. Like Tali and I were in Methodist together. Aaron's my roommate. Vish and I were video partners for a whole quarter. Don't let me get started on how emotional that was. And then Kellen, I met him through the South Africa trip. And I mean, the people you meet in this program, but also the people you meet outside of this program. I think like one of my top memories that I have, which it wouldn't have necessarily happened if my professors weren't always like, everyone has a story. There's always stories out there. Always. And you keep hearing that. You're like, man, it's so hard to find a story. But, like, really, everyone does have a story. I told this story to a few students yesterday, but for my final project, I had, like, this really cool story lined up about this man who, it was a really, really long story, but basically he kind of bailed out on me, and she was my partner that day. He bailed out on me last minute, and my project's due in like 4 days, and I'm like, all right, so I gotta start all over. And so I told her, I was like, just go home, like, don't even worry about it. I'll just like go hang out with my family, and then I'll figure it out, So I call a Lyft, and I'm like headed to go visit my family. And then this was like right after we got back from South Africa, and my Lyft driver, she has an accent, and I was like, oh, if you don't mind me asking, like, where are you from? And she's like, oh, I'm from South Africa. And I was like, what? And I was like, I just got back from South Africa. And she was like, oh, really? Like, and she's just like telling me about her story she's from Zimbabwe, and like her dad is from Zambia, and like she immigrated here, and then she just starts opening up. She was like, recently I put a blog post out there, and like this media company picks it up, and I was like, oh, what's it about? And she's like, yeah, you know, I had a myomectomy, and I got 5 fibroids removed after I had 3 miscarriages and experienced infidelity in my marriage and was laid off in the same year. And I was like, what? And she was like, yeah, and now like I inspire women through my organization called Gorgeous Within. And I was like, you're kidding. And she's literally driving the whole time while telling me this. And I was like, can I follow you around the rest of the day and do a story on you? No lie, she said yeah, and that was my final project. And I got an A. So, yeah, like, I'm telling you, like, the people you meet in this program and outside of this program, and you'll be challenged in so many different ways. Like, you have these conversations about privilege, about your background, about identity, and like all these different things that you should be having. You should be challenging each other and like understanding people's backgrounds. And so yeah, I think the people that you meet both within this program and outside of this program.
Did she charge you all that?
No.
Mine, I think, is a series of moments that are actually ongoing. I'm doing a story right now in my 4th quarter capstone class about mental health issues and treatment options, and because your 4th quarter is a much different animal than the rest of your quarters here, you're able to kind of not do a breaking news sort of story and peel back and take the time to really delve into a topic. And I'm interviewing people without interviewing them, which is very nice. Like, we're developing trust, we're talking off mic, I'm not, scribbling in a notebook to reach a deadline by 5 o'clock. It's great to be able to kind of scale back and to really kind of develop that trust and to talk to people as humans, and that's really why I came to Medill, and it's great to really have that kind of round out my final quarter and be it.
So we wanted to go to you. So does anyone want to be first question asker? Anybody have any burning questions they'd like to start us off with? Henry.
So I'm just curious, what's been your favorite or most ambitious or most interesting collaboration you've done so far at Medill?
What do you mean by collaboration?
Something where you had to work with a partner that to come together on the story, not just like a camera and a reporter pair who someone's just shooting for you, but you had to work with, you had to come up with a story collectively.
So during my Medill Explorers, I went to Colorado. We got to stay at the Olympic Training Center there. We stayed in the dorms. We got to eat with the athletes, and because of that, we got to know them really well. And sort of a similar situation. It wasn't constantly interviewing them. A lot of it was just sort of, talking shop and just talking about regular stuff and where the backgrounds were and things like that, learning about them. And I did a partner story with Aish. There were three international wrestlers there. One from Sweden, one from Estonia, and one from Lithuania, something like that. All women. And they were there for a women's wrestling tournament. And we found out their backstory with training and how tough it is for them to find money for funding and things like that. And they're also 3 of the top, in each of their weight classes, 3 of the top wrestlers in the world. So it was just we were just sort of in awe. We got to see them in action, and then we got to talk to them, and we wrote a partner story on that. That was really cool. So that was probably my favorite collaboration. Yeah.
Hannah and I have a really interesting story about this. So, like she said, we were working together last quarter, and one of our assignments was a non-narrative documentary, like a short documentary that we had to create. And we had 3 really good ideas. We started off with a Chinese opera singer, and she was like, "Oh, I'll take you to my place, and you can interview me. I'll tell you more about my life, how I got here." That fell through. Then there was there was a tattoo artist that Hannah met, and she was like, "Oh, this is awesome. We should do a story on him." And she also met a DJ the same night, so we kind of had 2 stories. We'll do either of them. Both fell through, and then this was I think 2 days before we had to submit the story, and we were freaking out. And then finally, I was looking at stuff online, just any event, something happening, and we found this Persian concert that was taking place at University of Chicago. So just sent out an email, can we just come watch the concert, maybe interview you? And he's like, yeah. And turns out he had the most amazing story. He was from Palestine. He had come here to Chicago. His wife was also from Palestine, but they spoke about their struggle, how they couldn't meet each other because they were stuck at the checkpoint for 9 hours. It was, again, an extremely emotional interview, but we learned so much, and the music was amazing. And it was just, it was so stressful just going, like, all those stories falling through and then finally getting one, but it was worth it. So if, you're going to have many of those days in Medill where, like, 5, 6 stories fall through, but then once something will work out, it's usually, like, it's amazing. It was a great experience.
And you just have to, like, I guess I'm a big believer in, like, everything kind of happening for a reason, like, and if you don't believe that, whatever happens, make the best out of it, because things are going to happen. I think everyone on this panel can talk about a time where a story fell through, and that's just life. But, like, she's right, that emotional was crazy. Like, that interview was so emotional. Like, his wife really broke down and was, like, crying, when she was talking about how they couldn't meet each other and, like, they had to go through this checkpoint. And you just, being able to tell his story, and it wasn't even no narration. Like, he told it himself, and being able to work together, like, you just start to, by that point, it was the end of the quarter, and we knew each other really well, and we know how we work, so I'm like, all right, you hang here, I'm going to go grab the singer, I'll go grab the musician, and then she's, like, got the equipment and, like, running around, it's like, you learn how to work with your partner. That doesn't happen initially, but, like, by the end, you will be like this.
Aaron and I liked when we worked in South Africa. That was good. In the span of 9 days, we traveled across the world, got there, interviewed in 4-person teams, like, for, like, 8-hour days, all day. It was exhausting. And it seemed like it wasn't going to work. Like, I went into it, like, kind of terrified that we were going to ask competing questions and be, like, competing for quotes, but I thought it worked so well. We were, like, you go there and back in a week, you're jet lagged, you're 7 hours ahead, you're on a plane for 15 to 19 hours. I blacked out. It was terrifying. I hate flying. But I just thought the collaborative process was really nice. We worked on very different pieces, but I thought that we all complemented each other really well in terms of interviewing the same people at the same time and really kind of looking out for each other with those questions and kind of pulling our quotes and our notes together to kind of prepare for each day.
Yeah, and a lot of that is like personality and like how you work together, but we, every night before we would go interview, would like sit down and plan, so we made sure that like we weren't all asking our sources the same questions or like using the wrong pronouns because we were doing a lot of LGBTI stuff. So without that, I think it probably would have been a mess.
Yeah, I agree.
So like, yes, it's about like the flow and like how you can work with a partner, but like really it's about planning too, especially in collaborative pieces because you're dealing with other people. You want to like have like your stuff together and be professional. I think without that, it would have been a struggle. But I think we did really well with that too. And especially because we were all kind of doing different pieces. 2 of us did text, Kellen did audio, and somebody was doing like an interactive web piece, which also kind of made it confusing because we all wanted different things. So yeah, that was a huge collaborative effort. Casey?
I appreciate you talking about stories falling through, and certainly no one's academic experience is seamless or smooth. We all have setbacks and false starts. What have been your misconceptions or surprises or outright failures during the program, and what advice would you give to yourself if you had to do the program over again as a result of that?
I had to give a retraction once and it sucked. And that's like a double, triple, quadruple check everything that you write, every fact that's possible in there. Have yourself read through it, have a friend read through it, have an editor read through it. As far as what I wish I knew before coming, treat it like your playground, honestly. Come in here and don't be afraid to fail. Do whatever you identify the skills you want and then just go for them. Because if you screw up now, it's stressful, but your rent isn't dependent on it. Whereas in a year, it will be in a different way.
You'll get fired.
Yeah. Yeah. Just treat it like the playground.
I guess for me, I kind of touched on it earlier, but I had a business background in undergrad. I was like really math. I love math and stuff like that, and I had a lot of video experience, but I never really like wrote. The last time I wrote an essay or whatever was like English in like freshman year. So for me coming here, it's like all of a sudden you're turning around all these articles every week, and I was really insecure in my writing. And like Aisha would sit next to me in class, and some days I really tried to be positive, but I was like really kind of beating myself up when I didn't get a good grade, and I was like kind of ashamed to ask for help, from my colleagues and like my classmates, because even my roommate, she would try and like read some of my stories sometimes and be like, can I read? And I'm like,
she hid them from me.
I'd be like, no. I was so insecure. And now, like, she's the first person, I'm like, hey, can you read my story now? But, like, that goes back to the point, like, you'll grow a lot here. And, like, don't be ashamed to, like, ask for help or ask a buddy. Like, we all have our strengths. Everyone has their weakness. Now I feel like I've gotten so much better at writing. Like, I don't know why I was ashamed in the first place, and whatever your insecurity is, like, don't let it defeat you. Don't let it make you feel bad. Like, ask for help. Don't be ashamed to reach out to your colleagues.
Yeah, mine's similar to Hannah. Like, I went from someone who only wrote to someone who started making videos. And initially, like, she was my video partner, and I never, I always treated it as something new, and I was really intimidated by the camera for the longest time, so I never took any help. I was like, I need to figure this out on my own. Everyone around me is so good at this. I need to get better. So, like, I wouldn't treat it the way I would treat a print story. Like, instead of like trying to make the person comfortable, I just go straight into the interview. And then Hannah would take me aside, like, Shasta, no, you need to treat this like a print story. So then, like, just you mostly because of like certain insecurities or certain thoughts in your head, you think you're supposed to do something a certain way, you kind of need to just keep yourself open and listen to what others have to say, because you learn so much from your peers. It's not just, of course you learn so much from your class and your professors, but I think I've learned almost as much from all my peers, just like listening to what they have to say, and I wouldn't be, who I am today if it wasn't for like everyone around me and like what I've learned from everybody.
Yeah, I think I didn't come from a reporting background. I came from like a liberal arts background. And even though I stuck with writing, I was like terrified of reporting, like talking to strangers and walking up to people on the street, like I wanted to cry. But you just have to do it, because like waiting and like being scared just makes it harder. So it took a while. It took like probably half of first quarter for me to get comfortable. But it's so cool once you do that, because every time you do take that risk and talk to a new person, you're like, oh, they're amazing. Like, their story is so cool. Like, I'm so glad I did that. And you leave, like, so happy and so proud of yourself. So I don't know if I had, like, a huge, like, reporting failure. It was more just, like, getting myself to the point where I was, like, comfortable with it. And it takes a while. And for some people, they got it right away. And some people are still working on it. But, like, if you're going to be a reporter and you're going to be a journalist, I just think you gotta dive in, like 100%. And Medill definitely helps you do that, but a lot of it's on you also.
Yeah, I don't think, a couple things. I don't think I've had a huge reporting failure either. I've been lucky, I guess, with sources mostly. I've had a couple people sort of trail me along, and then I sort of figure out I'm not going to get the access I'm promised, and then I sort of have to look somewhere else. But I think the main thing I would tell myself would be to sort of trust my gut. You're going to have a lot of people around you who talk about doing a lot of really cool things, and you're going to maybe question, maybe I'm going down the wrong path. But I think I've mostly stayed the path and that I want, and I'm happy I did that. But I questioned it a lot, and I'm glad I stuck with it. So I would definitely say that. Otherwise, just the usual, don't procrastinate. Tali, don't procrastinate. Call sources early, and get it written early.
Thank you.
I was wondering which course or courses were your most memorable and why during your experience?
Magazine editing, my favorite by far. I don't know if Patty's not in here, but magazine editing is awesome. I learned so much more than I thought was possible in that 10-week time frame. Also, there was a class that I took the first quarter. Charles wasn't here, but he left. I don't remember what it was called. You guys took it too. It was basically like an ethics-oriented class where we talked about
News judgment.
news judgment. Yeah, that was great. It was so good. It was talking a lot about. It was only an hour and a half every week for us for 10 weeks, but we talked a lot about current events in the news, ethical issues, and it was great to kind of have that small seminar and like double the size of this panel in my class anyway, because my cohort was so small, but it was really valuable. Seminar style classes.
For me, It was the video class second quarter because like first quarter is predominantly I'd say print, which is exactly what you need because I've learned that like print and writing is the foundation of journalism. You have to write to be a good journalist, and I'm really thankful that I've picked up that skill, through first quarter and second quarter. But yeah, second quarter when we got the camera equipment, I was like, oh yeah, it's going down, and like I was so excited because I finally got to do what I was passionate about. I love producing videos and getting shots, and it's not even just being in front of the camera. It's getting the shots you want and editing it to tell a story and make sense. And I don't know. I was really really excited to finally start doing that second quarter.
I'd say two of the classes I'm in right now, video for non-broadcast, people on the non-broadcast tag, and feature writing. I think video because I'm finally comfortable with the video camera. I'm confident that I can make videos, and so I really enjoy the kind of work I'm doing now because I can see myself doing that in the future. And feature writing because writing was my first love, and I'm glad I can still do that. I have a creative writing background, so that goes back to what you asked about failures also. I didn't mention it, but initially I was always really worried that I would lose my creativity because I've never done journalistic writing before, so I was really stressed about that, and every day I'd be like, what am I doing? But when I finally overcame that, I kind of realized that it was actually this kind of writing that helped me, also hone my creativity in a certain way and tell stories in a different way, and now I've kind of like found that balance where I can do both journalistic and creative writing, so it kind of comes together in a much better way. And I feel like my feature writing class really lets me do that. So yeah, these two classes.
I took a personal narrative class last quarter, and it was only a 5-week class. It was really short. Oh yeah, Bish was in it with me. And it was just so nice. I started out writing columns in undergrad. It kind of got me back to like a looser form of writing. And when all you're doing is like hard news, it was just nice to kind of like sit back and like make your writing like beautiful, and like play with style. And it was just really cathartic, and all the stuff that I think we produced, we all were really proud of. And it definitely helped if you're on the magazine track, like leading into feature writing third quarter. But then this quarter, I'm in a U.S. Securities and Civil Liberties class for the National Security Specialization, and literally all we do is sit in a circle and like talk for 3 hours. And maybe that sounds terrible to you guys, but I love it. And we would talk about like international migrant flows, or new security at Wrigley Field. Like, how does that play into like growing national security concerns? Like, whatever connects to like that type of subject, and sometimes not. It's just like really wonderful to sit and talk to your peers who like care about something so deeply, and discuss it at like a really intellectual level. I love that type of stuff coming from a history background. So it's cool once you get further into the program to start going into the stuff that like you're really passionate about. And it's really inspiring to you on like a daily basis.
Yeah, one of the coolest classes I took, there are a bunch, but one of the ones that comes to mind was a class that I actually audited. And this goes back to what I really love about Medill, which is the flexibility. It'll seem like you have to sort of pick a box and stick with that, but in fact, if you look into things, there's actually a ton of flexibility. So, going into my second quarter, I chose print, and I was happy about that. I love writing, but I also wanted to do a lot of video stuff, and especially on camera. I wanted to try out stuff with that. And so I talked to one of the video teachers, and she was like, yeah, come to every Thursday stand-up class. That's stuff on camera. And that was the biggest jump between coming in knowing nothing and then being somewhat less stupid on camera at the end of it. We would, at 9 a.m., we would be given a press release, and we would have until 10 o'clock to write a script. And then we would go out, would be sent out into the city, and we find a location, and we do our live shot there, and we each assign times, and we have to be on air and ready at that point. And we Skype into the newsroom where the other half of the class is there, and they're your anchor, right? And they toss it to you, and you're out there on the scene, and you have one take. And you better have your script memorized. There's memorized, and then there's memorized in front of the red light. So it was really cool. Learned a lot, screwed up a lot. You're in school, you don't get fired for it. So yeah, it was great. I love that. It's awesome.
On the subject of classes, before we move on to the next question, I just wanted to make a little quick announcement. There's actually a program, it's called the Strategy and Leadership Program, and that program is for experienced journalists who are interested in business innovation. You would take classes in IMC, Medill, and Kellogg, and it's a fully customized program. So if you are interested in something like that, please contact myself or Melissa, and we will get you in touch with the right people, or even any current student or faculty member. I'm sure they could direct you to the right person too. So again, that is the Strategy and Leadership Program if any of you guys are interested.
Why don't we talk about housing real quick? Where do you live, and how have you found that to be in terms of commuting and everything?
People,
You don't have to give your address, just general.
people obviously, you either choose Evanston or somewhere along the line or downtown. I chose Lakeview, which is pretty much equidistant from the two places. I like that because, most of Q1 was in Evanston for me, most of Q2 was downtown, and Q3 has been kind of split. So that's worked out pretty well for me. It's a pretty similar commute, about 30 minutes for each one. And yeah, I've been really happy living there. Tons of great stuff around me. It's a good area.
Yeah, I'm in Lakeview as well with Hannah. We're like a few blocks from Wrigley Field, which is awesome because I grew up a Cubs fan. But I highly recommend Lakeview if you want to live in the city. I don't know much about grad housing, but I hear good things from the students who live there. I, like Tali, I really wanted to be in between downtown and Evanston. I thought it was like a great compromise. And the CTA is so accessible, so if you are thinking of living in the city, I highly, highly recommend living near a CTA stop. We're about like 10 minutes from one, and it's totally manageable. Chicago's super like public transit and pedestrian friendly. So yeah, I'm all for Lakeview. And Edgewater, a lot of people live in also. It's just north of Lakeview a little bit. It's closer to Evanston. But a bunch of our classmates live there and they love it. And I'm sure like we could direct you to somebody if you want to ask about it. Or Kellen would. Yeah.
And
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so I live in Edgewater, just off Granville. My roommate and I, she's sitting somewhere at the back, we were just, we're both international students, so it was a little hard coordinating everything, and I'm sure like even people who are not living in Chicago currently might be feeling a little stressed about that, but it was actually pretty easy to find a place. And we initially lived in Evanston. We subbed at a place for 3 months. We were living in downtown Evanston, and we chose that instead of grad housing because, well, for a lot of reasons, it turned out to be cheaper. It was really close to campus, about like a 5-minute walk. And after that, we moved to where we stay now, in Edgewater, just off Granville. And it's a great place. You have like a lot of things around, and it's a 2-minute walk from the Red Line, Granville. And yeah, like it's like about 30 minutes away from the Evanston campus, in case you ever need to go there, and about 40 minutes away from this campus, and about 35 minutes away from the old campus, which you guys don't even know about. So yeah, it's like equidistant, and you get everything around. There's a Walgreens, a CVS, and all of these. So everything's around, and it's right by the Red Line surface.
In terms of the search process and logistics, like I mentioned, I'm from Atlanta, so I had no idea where to live around here, anything like that, and I didn't get to come to admit day. But I was a part of like the MSJ class of 2016 group, as you all are a part of the 2017 group. And so Erin posted like a post, and she was like, "Hey, my best friend from high school and I are looking for a third roommate. If anyone's interested," and I was like, "Oh, like, comment, message, like all the above." I literally was like, I probably seemed very aggressive. And like we laugh about it now, but I really was like, okay, this is gonna work, because I figured in my mind, 3-bedroom apartment is way cheaper than a 2-bedroom apartment. And she's from Chicago, she knows the area, and it worked out really well.
Yeah, and side note, like I'm pretty sure everyone in our program that lives with someone else in the program, it like worked out really great, and they like love their roommates. So
yeah,
so around you.
Yeah, so like and yeah, post on the Facebook group, get to know each other now. You know, they kind of did like a little mini interview process with me, so I was like on the phone like
it's true.
Myself, but get to know each other and make those arrangements. So.
I also live in Edgewater. It is a great neighborhood. I love living up there. It's a perfect distance in terms of to Evanston or to downtown. That being said, it's been way harder this quarter because I'm working with a grassroots investigative journalism outlet on the south side. So I've lived on the CTA for the past 4 weeks, 5 weeks. So there's really no way around that. I think that Edgewater is the ideal location in terms of if you're looking at a map of Chicago, the Lakeview, Edgewater neighborhoods are your best bets in terms of distance between Evanston and downtown. But if you're a social justice reporter, most of your stories are going to be on the south and west sides, just by default. And so that's going to be... It's been harder this quarter just simply because of the nature of all the meetings that I've had to go do down there. But I would still definitely stay there, and I would definitely... I've heard of people moving in the middle of their program, and that terrifies me. I don't know how you do that. That's amazing.
Yeah, because the first quarter was like all classes in Evanston, so we found a place that someone was studying for just 3 months, so it worked out. Yeah, and also if I was looking for for a flexible lease, you should look at places closer to college campuses. Like we live just opposite Loyola, and they're usually students, so there's a high turnaround rate, so everyone's always like moving. So that worked out for us. It's also cheaper because there's so many students around, so that's like. And it's a perfect location, like Kevin just said. So.
It's also dependent on your concentration, too. Like, if you're a video student, from what I understand, you guys are down here a lot more. Magazine track, I was in Evanston exclusively last quarter. This quarter now, I guess I've worked my way to a video track. For documentary, I'm down here the entire time. So it really depends on your own concentration location.
And then consider like what your schedule is for the year, because Erin and I are both going to DC over the summer, so we're finding people to sublease our apartment. One of our good friends, she's in DC right now, and she knew she wanted to go third quarter, so she got a 6-month lease coming into Chicago. So understand, I mean, the sooner you can find out kind of like your fourth quarter plans, it would help you out. But again, like I didn't decide about DC until like a month ago, so you can still work it out later on as well.
And I know they've been talking about spending first quarter. Traditionally, that's been more in Evanston, but going forward, because we have this beautiful space, summer, I think pretty much you're going to be here. Fall, they're finding ways to fit everybody in as well. But yeah, definitely keep this space in mind. But being able to get to both is wonderful because then it's really not as much of an issue. So, next question.
Now that is for like beginning of your guys' program. Do you have any idea kind of what you want to do after this?
I'm going to DC fourth quarter, and because of the election in November, I'd love to stay there, at least like probably through the end of the year. So I'm probably just going to be looking for like general assignment or like reporting jobs in Washington. I don't know what that's going to look like yet, but I'm pretty pumped. But yeah, it's hard to know like where you're going to end up, especially because we're still a quarter out, and a lot of reporting jobs are filled like really quickly. So I don't know. Yeah, it's hard to say. I think we all have things in mind, but we really can't know.
I'm going to be doing the fifth quarter optional global residency thing. So I'm going to be working at a paper in Paris and covering sports and the U.S. presidential election for them. And they want me to do some sort of, some writing, which will be in French, so I'm going to need a patient editor. But also some Snapchat stories and sort of some cool new type of storytelling, which I'm excited for. And then one of the things I'm most excited about is I'll get to go to London to cover the 3 NFL games there. So I'm excited for that. So that'll be starting in September and then going through December with, I guess my understanding is the possibility of staying on longer. So
I recently, although I'm very interested in pursuing the broadcast track, so starting at a local TV station and then kind of working my way up, I did get a couple opportunities in Atlanta with some teams I've worked with in the past. I've worked, like I said, with NFL teams, college teams, and things of that sort, WNBA teams. So I'm kind of leaning toward this like host position where I'd be producing video content, and I'm thinking about doing that for 3 months, and then from there transitioning into like a local TV station. And I've already been talking to a couple producers about that as well. So it's in the works. But the Medill name, I mean, when I say I'm from Medill, so it's going in the right direction.
So I'm the closest to graduation, and if you want a verbose, semi-neurotic, terrified rant about this, you can talk to me in the lobby afterwards. But I'm in the process of looking. Even still, I've been told already that I'm still a little bit too early, and I have about 7-8 weeks left until I'm out of here. I don't even really know what I want to do at this point. I'm, straddling the fence between radio and magazine, but I feel more comfortable in the sense that I want to do something creative. From what I understand about post Medill, at least for the magazine track, we are going into the same positions as if we had not gotten a master's degree, but we are promoted at a much faster rate. And so, for me, I think that would look something along the lines of assistant editor, fact checking, things of that nature. And so for me, it's really important to do something creative on the side. And I'm thinking and playing with the idea and toying with a proposal for a podcast idea, and doing that kind of at night while I'm working a regular day job. I'm informationally interviewing. I'm at that stage right now. I've talked to people from Texas Monthly, the Texas Observer. I talked to Nick Jackson from the Pacific Standard Magazine last week. So I'm making my way around and kind of playing that slow game and applying, but again, it's still just a little too early. It seems as though the timeline is about 6 weeks out, so talk to me in 2 weeks. And I'll be more neurotic and
Well, I'm still thinking.